President Obama just leaving Asia, briefed on Air Force One overnight.
Temperatures boiling, a late summer heat wave, potential record temperatures closing schools in the Northeast, and the heartland on alert this morning for dangerous storms and flash floods.
Breaking overnight, dramatic rescue. Dozens of tourists trapped in cable cars, dangling thousands of feet in midair high above the French Alps after the wires get tangled. Helicopters forced to stop their rescue at nightfall, the moment passengers were finally lifted to safety.
And he's ready to play baseball. Tim Tebow going from a Jet to a Met. Can the 29-year-old make it to the majors? A Hail Mary for the one-time Heisman hero.
Live in Times Square, this is GMA with Robin Roberts, George Stephanopoulos, and Michael Strahan.
We do say good morning, America, on this Friday morning. We made it to the end of the week, and he is ready to play baseball. Tim Tebow signing a professional baseball contract with the New York Mets.
And he's going, what? He's going from the football gridiron to the baseball diamond.
Right.
You know, only few people have done that. Will he bring the famous T-bowing to home plate? That's what everybody's wondering. And take a look at this. Someone's having fun with the Mets logo, getting ready for Tebow time. I don't know how happy a pitcher will be if he hits a home run and he does that. You know, he's got to take it very seriously.
I know it's a long shot, but I'm rooting for him.
I mean, I am too, absolutely.
It would be good to see.
Great friend of this program.
And more is coming up. Let's get right to that breaking news. Successful nuclear test by North Korea. They claimed it overnight. South Korea confirms. President Obama briefed early this morning on his way home from the region. Our chief global affairs anchor, Martha Ratt, is tracking it all from Washington. Martha, this is just the latest in a series of provocations from North Korea.
It certainly is, George. This overnight test is believed to be the biggest yet, resulting in the most powerful explosive yield ever produced in North Korea and causing a magnitude 5 tremor. The announcement came on state TV, the anchor in traditional dress gleefully announcing the test as North Korea celebrates the 68th year of its government. What is alarming about the test is that it shows steady progress. The first test in 2006 yielded the equivalent of only about 1 kiloton of TNT. This one is estimated at 10 kilotons, and at the same time, North Korea continues to test ballistic missiles with an increasing range. They say their goal is to miniaturize a nuclear warhead and place it on a missile capable of reaching the U.S. They don't have that capability yet, George, but clearly that is the direction they are heading.
And that is a huge danger. It's drawn an instant reaction from the U.S. and our rivals in the region.
Certainly, the president, as you said, was briefed on Air Force One. He had just concluded that Asia tour. This morning, Secretary of State John Kerry and his Russian counterpart expressing deep concern. But, George, there have been increasing sanctions and condemnation, and it has not stopped North Korea.
So little we can do about them, Martha Raddatz. Thanks very much.
You're right about that, George. We're going to move on now to the race for the White House. 60 days until the election, and Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump ramping up their attacks over national security, emails, and Russia. ABC's Cecilia Vega. You know she's tracking it all for us this morning. Good morning, Cecilia.
Robin, good morning to you. And those attacks are still going. Hillary Clinton gave a press conference, and she said Donald Trump failed a test on national security. Trump took to Twitter and said Clinton gave a, quote, very dumb answer about emails, both sides not letting up. This morning, a heated war of words over who is ready for the Oval Office.
He is temperamentally unfit and totally unqualified to be commander-in-chief.
Clinton is unfit to be your commander-in-chief.
After they faced off on national security, Hillary Clinton in North Carolina blasting Donald Trump for lavishing praise on Vladimir Putin.
Even taking the astonishing step of suggesting he prefers the Russian president to our American president. It is scary. It is dangerous.
And Trump in Ohio blasting Clinton for the answers she gave about her emails.
Every time she talks about the subject, it's different. She's got to get her act together.
But now both sides facing fallout over that forum. Trump for this comment about the Iraq War.
I was totally against the war in Iraq. You can look at Esquire magazine from '04. You can look at before that.
Trump is actually on record supporting the war. And as for that Esquire magazine article, in it, Trump called the war a mess, but he never explicitly opposed it. The magazine's editor now says Trump is completely misrepresenting what he said. Clinton under fire, too, for what she said about Trump's public discussion of his classified security briefings.
I would never comment on any aspect of an intelligence briefing that I received.
But it turns out when she ran for president in 2008, she too made public comments about receiving classified briefings.
We finally were able to secure a briefing. It did not inspire confidence in our readiness to do this important task of withdrawing our troops and equipment.
Well, her camp says that Clinton received a policy briefing versus Trump's intelligence briefing, and they say now, Robin, that comparison there is unfair.
I want to ask you something about Hillary Clinton, this post. Humans of New York. Very personal. What do you think the strategy is behind that?
Well, we've seen these polls. Hillary Clinton has a real likability problem. And in this Humans of New York piece, she really tries to tackle this herself head on. She says, I know that I can be perceived as aloof or cold or unemotional, but I had to learn as a young woman to control my emotions. I think, Robin, we'll be seeing a lot more of this side of Hillary Clinton as we get closer to Election Day. They're trying to put a human face to this candidate that people feel like they don't know who she is still.
Yeah, they feel that way.
Yeah.
Let's talk to Matt Dowd about that right now, our political analyst. And Matt, we see this coming as the polls are really tightening in the battleground states as well, not just the national polls. More press conferences from Hillary Clinton, that post that Cecilia just talked about, a new ad out this morning where she talks about reaching out, working with Republicans. They've gotten the message 60 days out.
Yeah, but I think it's a smart move, and I think it's a smart move to sort of get an insight into Hillary Clinton, George, but I think there's two problems with it. The first is you can't do this as a one-day thing. You're going to have to do it for 59 straight days to show the side of her because she is so familiar to the public. The second thing I call the Leonard Nimoy dilemma, which is when you play Spock for decades, it's a hard time getting the public to not see you as Spock, and that's a problem Hillary Clinton has.
Yeah, it's true. We've seen a lot of reintroductions of Hillary Clinton over the years. Meantime, both candidates, as Cecilia pointed out, facing fallout from the National Security Forum the other night. And Donald Trump really doubling down on that embrace of Putin. It's causing some heartburn among top Republicans.
Yeah, obviously, it's basically saying that that Barack Obama isn't qualified or isn't a leader, but somebody like Vladimir Putin, who's basically a dictator over a country, puts them in a real bind. And I thought Hillary Clinton made a really good point when she said, what would Ronald Reagan think of this? But I think part of the problem in that forum for Hillary Clinton was Donald Trump had a visceral connection with the public. Hillary Clinton had an intellectual connection with the public. But when you come down to vote, most people vote viscerally, not intellectually in an election like this.
Meantime, Matt, you keep saying, let's look at the four-way race, including those independent candidates, Gary Johnson, Jill Stein, the Green Party candidate. But Johnson, the Libertarian candidate, made something of a gaffe yesterday discussing Syria. Let's take a look.
What would you do if you were elected about Aleppo?
About?
Aleppo.
And what is Aleppo?
You're kidding.
No.
Aleppo is in Syria. It's the epicenter of the refugee crisis.
Okay, got it. Got it.
Okay.
Well, kind of stunning there, Matt. If that were Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton, we'd be shaking our heads. It would be front page news. But you argue that it might actually help Gary Johnson.
Well, yeah, obviously it's a stunning gaffe, and he should have known what it was. But I think it's two things. I think it will help him because part of his problem has been he can't break through, and nobody's talking about him. Well, everybody's talking about him. And in his statement in the aftermath, basically saying, yep, I am a human being. I made a mistake. I'm going to do better next time. The second thing is, which I think is fascinating, this is the most we've talked about the tragedy in Aleppo in a year. So by saying, what is Aleppo? We actually now have a better conversation about the tragedy going on in Aleppo. So you got to give him credit for actually raising the issue in that way.
I'm not sure he meant to do it in that way, but Matt,
I don't think he meant it. I don't think he meant it either, but I'm looking on the bright side.
You could see the look on his face when he got the question.
I know. Well, everybody's talking about Aleppo. Now everybody's also talking about the heat this morning. There are record temperatures possible for the northeast, and Ginger is outside tracking this late summer heat wave. What do you have, Ginger?
We're in the air this morning, Michael. It is most certainly hot. We broke records yesterday, and you can see this morning we're already 81 here in Times Square, so that's warmer than we should be for an afternoon high. So we've got those heat advisories, that September scorcher coming in. It's the humidity, too. The numbers will go, at least in the feels likes, 100 plus. That's why the heat advisory's on. That's why some schools are closing early around Philadelphia, and some are even closed in Maryland. Those numbers by this afternoon get there. Then we have to talk about the flash flooding. New Point, Indiana, close to Cincinnati, up to 5 inches of rain, drowning cars there you can see, and 9+ inches around Wichita. So flash flooding, our second story that will have a lot more coming up in just a couple of minutes. George?
Okay, Ginger, thanks very much. We're going to move on now to high drama in the French Alps. Dozens of riders stranded in cable cars overnight, suspended at an altitude of 12,000 feet. ABC's Terry Moran is in London with the latest on the rescue. Good morning, Terry.
Good morning, George. A harrowing night for dozens of people. Yesterday, there were tourists riding a cable car over spectacular mountain scenery, and then things went terribly wrong. This morning, daring rescue after rescue, a risky high-altitude drama playing out overnight. Dozens of tourists here to see the spectacular mountain scenery, instead forced to spend the freezing night trapped in midair in these cable cars dangling over the French Alps. A tourist from South Africa posted this video of the panoramic view moments before the tangled mess crossed cables, shutting the whole thing down. Initially, there were 110 people left stranded at 12,500 feet in the air. While daylight lasted, helicopters rushed to reach and rescue 77 people. Rescuers harnessing themselves to cables and then climbing along the cars and dropping down into the chairlifts. But night fell, a cold fog rolled in, operations were suspended, too dangerous for the rescue. And 33 people spent the night hanging 2 miles from the ground.
They won't use a helicopter, they won't fly at night. No, they wouldn't fly during the fog either.
An American tourist was among those rescued.
We were there almost 10 hours in the cable car, which was really quite an experience.
5 rescue workers spent the night with those still trapped, bringing blankets and warm food. A close call for sure. The operating company of that cable car says they can't figure out why those cables got crossed, and so they've closed that line for now. Robin?
So glad everybody's safe, Terry. Thank you. We also have a big bank headline this morning. Wells Fargo fined nearly $200 million for setting up millions of fake accounts. Rebecca Jarvis has the details. She joins us with all that. So tell us what happened here, Rebecca.
Good morning, Robin. This is truly outrageous. Thousands of Wells Fargo employees at bank branches across the country opened millions of illegal accounts, and they did it by using real customer accounts, real customer money, and seeding those new accounts with that money. They covered their tracks up by creating fake email addresses, phony PIN numbers, and they did all of this over the course of 5 years and managed to get away with it for 5 years straight. 5,300 Wells Fargo employees have now been fired as a result. They paid that record penalty, $185 million, but I bet a lot of people out there are wondering this morning, how do I get my money back? Well, Wells Fargo tells me they're putting it directly back into customer accounts. They say that they will pay about $5 million, Robin, back to customers as a result of this scam.
So they'll get their money back, but the trust is broken. All right.
5,000 people do that.
5,300. I don't know. That leads to another question. How could they not know with 5,300
that it was happening
involved?
Absolutely. And we're also following the latest on the Zika outbreak. New numbers show at least 84 pregnant women have tested positive for the virus in Florida. And Dr. Besser is here. And good morning, Doc.
Good morning.
Now, there are 80 pregnant women in Florida, over 600 nationwide.
That's right.
You were the head of the CDC.
Yeah.
So how big of a public health emergency is this?
I mean, this is really scary. I'm worried about this. You know, in Brazil, the first country that was hit, they've seen a massive increase in babies born with severe birth defects. And I'm worried that the areas that are having transmission now aren't doing enough to control it. And next spring and summer, we're going to see birth defects that could have been prevented.
Well, I know they're spraying in Miami. There's still some pushback, public pushback, because of the pesticides. They're not sure.
That's right.
People are afraid of that.
They're using a product called Naled. The EPA has approved this, but not all countries can. It's illegal to use it in Europe. They're concerned about the safety of workers who are using this. And we saw in South Carolina, where it was used, a massive die-off of bumblebees. And the concern is that, you know, you've got to weigh the risks from these pesticides versus the risk of birth defects next year.
All right. Well, thank you, Doc. And good morning, Amy. You got some headlines for us.
I do indeed. Good morning, everyone. And the Pentagon has just revealed details of a daring mission to save 2 professors abducted at the American University in Kabul, Afghanistan last month. Navy SEALs parachuted into a compound where intelligence officials believe the American and Australian professors were held, but they did not find them. There was a firefight. 7 enemy fighters were killed. Well, a mattress store in Texas is sparking massive outrage over its TV ad for a 9/11 sale, spoofing the collapse of the World Trade Center. The company calling it the Twin Towers sale. Take a look.
Right now, you can get any size mattress for a twin price. Store-wide sale all day long.
Wow, the store has apologized, but some people, understandably, are calling for a boycott. Yeah, that's a head shaker. 49ers quarterback Colin Kaepernick's national anthem protest may be getting some results. The 49ers CEO has announced he is donating $1 million towards improving race relations and dialogue with police. Meanwhile, during the NFL season opener, the Broncos' Brandon Marshall took a knee during the anthem. As for the game, the Broncos won last night's Super Bowl rematch with the Panthers 21-20. And finally, forget several cups of coffee in the morning. Apparently, all you need is one. Baristas in Australia claim they have come up with a coffee blend so strong it will keep you awake for 18 hours. Yeah, it has 5,000 milligrams of caffeine. That is 12 times more than the daily recommended intake. And yeah, they say they have 4 espresso shots, 2 different strengths of a cold drip, and it says their shots contain 80 times the amount of caffeine in a standard shot. You're supposed to sip
I mean,
it
I'm just saying,
slowly.
but 18 hours and all of that?
It's definitely not healthy. It's definitely not healthy.
That wouldn't be able to function.
What did you say, George?
Use it on election night. It's great.
We'll ship some to you. I'll ship you some.
Hey, did you guys see this last night? Serena Williams out of the U.S. Open. She was upset. She started the Open, smashing records, now facing defeat. TJ's here. TJ, I think Serena's loss even shocked her opponent last night.
Shocked her opponent, shocked you. I'm mad. Just we're not doing well this morning. I'm about to say something here that we haven't been able to say for 186 weeks. Serena Williams is not the #1 tennis player in the world. She lost the ranking by losing last night. She might still be the greatest athlete ever, but she was not the best tennis player on the court last night.
Match point. Serena must stare down.
The tennis queen, Serena Williams, dethroned. After double faulting on match point at the U.S. Open semifinal.
And Karolina Pliskova is headed to the U.S. Open final as Serena makes a quick exit.
She's lost her chance at U.S. Open glory and her #1 ranking. Even her opponent, Karolina Pliskova, a rising star from the Czech Republic, was in shock at first.
I don't believe it. Serena, she's a champion, so it's never easy to play her. You saw it, even if she was down, set on a break, she's still fighting.
Williams was on top of the world, recently named greatest athlete ever by Nike, the proud owner of 6 U.S. Open championship trophies, and last night she was dressed for another win, donning her self-proclaimed superhero sleeves. She came out strong, but Pliskova quickly proved she has the serves and the returns of a champion.
Pliskova now in front.
After losing the first set, Williams limped her way into a second set tiebreaker.
Yeah, I've been having some serious left knee problems, but when you're injured, you're thinking of other things when you should be just playing and thinking of your shots.
Pliskova ultimately won on that fatal double fault.
I'm so excited to beat Serena. So right now, probably America hates me because I beat both sisters Williams.
But no hard feelings from Serena.
I wasn't at 100%, but I also think she played well and she deserved to win today.
Yeah. Well, because she did deserve the win.
It was my first U.S. Open match ever. I'd never been, and I was so disappointed. I wanted that third match. I really wanted to see it.
She's not going to want you at her next match.
No, I'm not the bad luck charm.
How about that weather, Ginger?
Oh, you know, it's hot at the U.S. Open today, but we're talking about that flash flooding in southeast Kansas. More rain where that came from. Let's get your local weather in 30 seconds. First, though, the weekend getaway is brought to you by Delta Faucet.
To those who don't run from mud, but through it, who know it wasn't a day at the beach unless someone got buried. To the fullbacks, gearheads, and those with green thumbs. To the sticky, the stinky, even those who get a little icky. To all the beautiful mess makers, keep it up. With Delta Intuition plus H2O Kinetic, you can. See what Delta can do.
Well, once again, our temperatures are going to top out 95 to about 98 during the afternoon hours, but factor in that humidity, and again, we're over 100. What it's going to feel like this afternoon, so grab the water and find a location to keep cool. We've got one more day of it after today, and then into the mid-80s over the weekend. Can't rule out an isolated shower early part of the day on Sunday. Other than that, get ready for cool, more fall-like conditions early part of the day on Monday. Cool, crisp start to the work week.
I have an idea, Amy. I haven't ever been to the U.S. Open. Let's go together. Yes. And then we can make everybody win.
I wish it was that easy.
Yeah. If it were. Coming up, murder mystery, the single mother of 3